End of an era today for the Somerville family.
Well, I guess it's an end of an era, but it's also going to continue on under new ownership and a new name. And I think Trudy will keep most things the same. Sure, she'll make some changes as she sees they're needed, but I mean, everything runs its course and comes to an end.
Tell me about the beginning, like as far as you remember it.
Dad started this in 1952. He was actually playing semi-pro hockey in the U.S. He wanted to get married, and Mom wouldn't marry him as long as he was in the U.S. playing hockey. So he bought an existing business, gave up his hockey career, and started this.
Wow, I didn't know. I never knew that. Do you remember if it was like, was it a wish of his or was it more of an ultimatum of his? In other words, did he ever want to do this?
I think it was a wish. He was looking for something to do, and he bought an existing store that was at 96 King Street West. And Mom and him got married, and they lived upstairs in an apartment upstairs above the store. And I think Dad's sports background, because he was a pretty good athlete in his day, I think it just became as a natural for him. And my grandfather, my dad's dad, was a real astute businessman. So I think he had a lot of guidance from my grandfather.
When did you pick it up? Like, in other words, when did you start working, or not pick it up? But I mean, when were you volunteered or told?
I started working here when I was 7 years old. When they moved from 96 King Street to here to 84, for a week or week and a half, I pulled wagons up and down the main street with merchandise. So Mom would have one wagon loaded up. I would drag it down to this store. Dad would unload it. I would take an empty wagon back. Mom would have one loaded. I did that for a week up and down the main street with merchandise. Probably couldn't do that today.
Were you the only? I take it you were the only sports store in town.
At the time, yeah. Then Donnie Ball opened. Don Sports. I don't know if Don was open then, but I know he was open later. I'm not sure when Don actually opened his.
What's it? You know, it's an open question, but what's it been like?
It's been fun. It's been fun. Every day you learn something. I remember as a kid when I was young, when I was 12 and 13 years old working here, guys like Dick Turpin and Bobby Lake and Dennis Smith and Mike Kelly, they'd all gather here every day after school because we sold pops and chips and all that, and they'd have pops and chips and talk about all the things that were going on in the sports world in Coburg. So it's been fun.
Tell me how, when you say that about it, sports has changed a lot.
The world's changed.
Like it's a ball isn't what it used to be. Like ball used to be a mainstay in this town, and not that it's gone, but I mean it isn't as well. And again, you can answer the question, but it isn't as popular as what it once was. People are diversing.
But I think, Peter, you're exactly right. I think when we were growing up, you played ball in the summertime and you played hockey in the winter. Those were the two things you did. I think we counted a few years ago. There's, I think, 15 to 20 different activities that kids can take part in Coburg in the summertime, between kayaking, canoeing, sailing, lawn bowling, tennis. You think of the things that are available for people now that weren't available 30 or 40 years ago. So there's lots of choices for people to make.
I would think it is highly unusual for a business downtown Coburg. Are you the longest business?
I think we could be now. I think until Hall's Jewelers closed, I think they could have been the longest, but I think we are now.
What's that mean to you about the community supporting you all this time?
Our family owes the community everything. I mean, the support they've given us over the years. We've been fortunate to do what we like to do, run a business in downtown Coburg, be supported by the community, make a living. It's hard to put into words.
You say that, Dave, but I can tell you the other side of the coin is, and not just from my personal perspective, but from many in the community, you're what makes a community, because people come in here and you give things away where, and it may not cost a lot, it may cost a lot, but if somebody needs something, you're there for the community. You always have been. Somerville's always has been there for the community.
My dad's belief was you can't just take. If you're going to make your living in the community, you have to be part of the community and you have to give back. Whether it's through sponsoring teams or coaching or whatever, you have to give back because it's not fair if it's a one-way street. And people soon learn that if it's a one-way street, they may not patronize your store anymore because it's one way. So, and Dad always had a soft spot for kids. He was always a firm believer that every child no matter their gender, their financial status, whatever. They should all be entitled. They should all be able to participate. So there were times where Dad would help out families who couldn't afford, to help put the kids on the ice or on the ball field. But there's lots of other people in Coburg who did the same thing quietly too. There's numerous ones. Ken Petrie's one that comes to mind, that he always gave back to and helped people who needed some support.
When we talk like this, it's more than a business. This is a definition of part of the community. Like what you're saying, because as I say, you're giving back and all that stuff. So it's more than a check at the end of the day. It's a family.
It is. For sure it is. But you look around every time there's an event in Coburg and they put a poster out for an event, or they print a T-shirt for an event, and they list all the sponsors. There's all kinds of businesses in Coburg and the surrounding area that always step up to the plate and always help out. So, and I kudos to those businesses, because it's part of being it's a part of being in the community.
I think, and again, not to go too deep into this way, but you don't see that a lot these days with big business.
Well, I think for big business, because they have corporate head offices, a lot of their advertising budgets are directed at a head office. That being said, call Tim Hortons what you want is a big business, but they sponsor lots of things and all the communities are in.
Good point.
So
Good point.
McDonald's sponsor a lot of things and give a lot of things back. So I think sometimes big business gets a bad rap, because a lot of big businesses do grassroots sponsorships.
What going forward? What happens? I guess when the keys close, because when the keys are turned over, but you'll be still here.
I'm going to be around. I'm going to help Trudy in a lot of ways with getting comfortable. She's been here for the last month. I'm going to be available to help her with team and league and corporate stuff and or anything else she needs some help. I don't have any plans on working a lot, but I'm not just going to walk. I will make sure. I want her to be successful. I want her to enjoy this. I want this to carry on. She's gonna rebrand it under her own name, which so it should be. But I want her to be able to carry on and be successful. So I'll help as much as I can.
Was it a hard decision?
No,
it's time.
Peter, it's time. I'm 68 years old. Physically and mentally, it's time. I worked a lot of hours, a lot of years, a lot of 6-day weeks over the time. Now it's time to spend time with my wife, my daughter Jamie, and my granddaughters. I'm getting older, my wife's getting older, and it's time for us to go on a trip. It's time for us just to hang out and do stuff together. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of my main goals, is to spend more time with my family. Every business runs its course, and I've probably run my course in this business. This business needs some upgrades in technology and all that type of stuff. And at my age, I'm not in the frame of mind or the state of mind to be able to do with that, or I'm not interested in doing that. I like holes in the floor. I like the way this store is, That's the way I grew up.
Talk about some of your staff. Amazing staff.
We've always been really fortunate. Our staff, we've been very lucky and don't very often have staff turnover. My staff's been amazing. Prior staff and the staff today's been amazing. I like to think that there's a comfort zone here, and I think my staff feels comfortable here, and you try to make them feel comfortable, and you try to make them be a part of it, and as much as you can.
When you're done at the end of the day, will it be a sigh of relief, happiness, sadness? What emotions do you think you're...
Peter, I am totally at peace with this whole thing. I was going to start to do this 6 or 7 years ago, but my wife's health took a bit of a turn. So this was all put on the back burner because of my wife's health. Mary's doing fine, which I'm thankful for. But 3 years ago, it was time. So I started by selling the clothing store building. Then I sold this real estate. And the last piece of the puzzle was either to sell the business or to liquidate it. And Trudy stepped up and said she was interested. And we sat and talked and put something together. And it's, but I'm totally at peace. I'm totally at peace with it.
One of those things, and I'll end it here, but one of those things I would certainly take it, because given your background, how quality and community is top of the chain, you obviously care where this place is going.
Oh, I'm absolutely. I'm thrilled a local person wanted to buy it. I'm thrilled that, and I've known Trudy since she was a baby. I've known her. I've known her family. Um, I'm thrilled a local person wanted to buy it because a local person maybe would understand better how this business operated as opposed to selling it to somebody from out of town that didn't know anything about our business. Yeah, so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that the business is going to carry on, and I wish all the best for Trudy, and I hope she's successful.
One last thing, because I have to ask it this way. When you walk in the store here, there's usually the employees and yourself sitting there to greet.
Yeah,
Even when your father was here, like,
yeah.
they'd always greet you. I guess that won't change by the looks of it with Trudy and that and things like that. But I mean, you had the eyes and ears on the town where you were. You've seen a lot over the days. The police used to come in and et
Oh
cetera.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think I think if we've I think what we've tried to provide, and we're not always successful at it, but nobody's always successful at everything. But I think we've tried to supply a comfort zone. When you walk in the store, whether you love us or you hate us, whether we think we're great or we're not great, there's a certain level of expectation that we've tried to maintain, and I think all in all we've done a pretty good job of that. People in general aren't great with surprises, whether they're good or they're bad. They don't People don't react well with surprises. So I like to think that we're pretty consistent. And I think any business, if you can be consistent, I think you can have some longevity.
Last words.
Thank you, everybody.